All right, joining me once again here on the Matthew Filipowicz Show is my good friend Sarah Jaffe. Sarah is an independent journalist and a reporting fellow at the Nation Institute. She's working on her first book on social movements, which is going to come out in 2016. She is the co-host of Dissent Magazine's Belabored podcast, all of which and more you can find at adifferentclass.com. You can also follow her on Twitter at Sarah L. Jaffe. Sarah, thank you so much for being on the show again.
Thank you, as always, for having me.
All right, so Sarah, recently in Brooklyn, New York, a 262-person union shop of Cablevision technicians, they actually recently won a 3+ year fight for a union contract. We'll get to the contract in a second, but let's start with some background of how this exact union came into existence, because it was not an easy task.
No, it was not. And, so Cablevision is owned by this guy named James Dolan, who is also the owner of the New York Knicks, the New York Rangers, and Madison Square Garden. He's kind of a local New York celebrity, and I tell you this because this is kind of important. He personally plays a role in this saga, not a positive one. So what happened is Cablevision is non-union. It has been non-union for however many years it has existed. A lot of these other big cable and internet provider franchises are unionized, right? So Verizon is union, and the CWA, the Communications Workers of America, have been trying to unionize Cablevision for 20 years without any luck. They had tried. They had never gotten to the point of winning an election. So summer of 2011, right before Occupy Wall Street takes off, there's a big strike of Verizon workers in New York City. And a handful of these Cablevision workers, who are sick and tired of being treated the way they're usually treated, go into the CWA offices during the Verizon strike. They're inspired by this big strike, which got a lot of support from the city, and they ask for union cards. And the person who gave them to them was basically distracted and handed them a stack of union cards. According to the organizer I talked to, were from the 1950s. And they go away, and they think, and she sort of forgets about it, and they think they're never going to hear from them again. Well, they come back with a majority of these cards signed, which is a huge task, right? That's a lot of work, even for one unit of almost 300 people. That's a lot of union cards being signed, right? So they come back with these cards signed, and they turn them in, and they're like, so, hey, we want a union. And because we don't have card check, which is a whole other thing we could go ranting about for till the cows come home, thank you, Obama,
right.
They had to go through the election process. So the CWA organizers are like, look, we've got to do this right because they're going to union bust the hell out of you. So we're going to go back in and we're going to build this up, and we're going to make sure that everybody who signed these cards is willing to be public about it, to wear a wristband that says we're CWA, and to organize their coworkers. So they build an organizing committee, they register for an election, and they win their election 6 months. This part of the story usually takes a lot longer than 6 months. And, they have their captive audience meetings. They do all of the things that bosses normally do. They hire an anti-union law firm to send in experts to tell them what to say. And these workers, the three of whom I met reporting this story, are just, kind of incredibly badass. And they weren't having it. And they won their election. And, most people think that winning the election is the hard part. And then they kept going for 3.5 years.
Right.
So that's the background on this story. And in that time, as they were fighting for the election, Occupy Wall Street happens. New York sort of explodes in discussions of income inequality and injustice. And in fact, this often gets erased from conversations about Occupy. There was a lot of labor buy-in in this city. Labor started using the framework of the 99%. The Cablevision workers, there's a website still up called the Cablevision 99, and it really was framed as this 99% battle versus the 1% who is this guy, Jimmy Dolan.
Who literally is the one of the top 1% in the world. I mean, the guy is
He's
crazy.
He's
crazy wealthy.
Yeah.